Hare Krishna. And I don't even know what Hare means. If you found yourself onto this video, you're probably like me, which is a femboy or a submissive man who was raised in a Christian household. Even if it wasn't very conservative, you still ended up like, it influenced your mindset quite a bit. And so you're stuck with, you have this very religious fervor or sense of spirituality within you, but you don't know any other way to express it other than the Abrahamic one. So I'm here today to tell you about my experiments with Buddhism, but even Hinduism. I found that Hinduism provided a very, very good remedy. You could be one of those people who just is a feminine man or sensitive man and also embraces Christian spirituality at the same time. There are people like that. There are people who just manage to be really, really religious and also gay at the same time. But if you're like me, you sort of take... Your nature seems to incline towards taking a not literal, but like a very hardline interpretation of scripture. And you want to take the safe route. Like, why would you be like, yeah, I'm gay, but I also follow God? Why wouldn't you just try to eliminate your gayness, your homosexuality, to be extra safe that you're not going to go to hell because you're probably very, very, very scared of hell? That's the way I am, at least. So, you could probably find a way to believe in God while also being, like, sort of a submissive man at the same time, especially if you're hardworking and the rest of your life is in order. Like, it could work for you, but if it doesn't work for you, I have a suggestion that works for me that might work for you, and this is going to save you quite a bit of time and even quite a bit of headache, because what happened to me was I ended up meeting a girl who was very, very into femdom, and it was a great relationship, like really going well. We were very compatible, and then I closed it off because I felt really guilty every time because of like my Abrahamic Christian upbringing. Like, I was really religious at the time. I was joining Bible studies, I was joining religious groups on my campus, and it just conflicted. And now it doesn't conflict at all. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I ended a relationship because of this. So I'm trying to save you like a ton of hardship. I'm gonna recommend two systems. They're both Eastern religions, one more heavily than the others, and I'm gonna recommend them like based on different things of what you're trying to achieve. So if you are addicted to adult content, or if you are very lustful, you're very desperate for a girlfriend, and you want to get rid of this, you want to... itchy. I don't know if I was bit by a mosquito. I hope you appreciate the fact that I'm risking tick bites out here for you. Just kidding. There's probably no ticks. If you're very focused on eliminating lust in your life, like that is also a concern, then Buddhism would be recommended because... So Buddhism did not completely steer me away from my lust. At the end of the day, you are still the one who has to do it, or you have to put your faith in a 12-step program. At least that's the way it worked for me. But Buddhism allows you to see your lust in a way that doesn't... Like, when you look at Christianity, there's like, no, lust can be healthy. Lust can be good if in a committed relationship. The bad part is that you're a man who wants to be in the submissive role as opposed to being in the dominant role. And of course, there are plenty of Christians who don't care about that, but we're focusing on the ones who are. Whereas Buddhism shows you how lust is bad, but it doesn't care that you're a man who wants to be in the submissive position. That's irrelevant. Like, Buddhism is the position that, no, lust is bad as a whole, and we need to, like, and you need to control, not control, but you need to learn self-restraint in your life in order to live a good life. So Buddhism I found very helpful because it sort of makes you see how, yeah, maybe I should, like, just chill on the femdom stuff and sex and all the lust for a bit. And it's not even because it's femdom. It's not even because the woman's dominant and the man is submissive. It's just because lust as a whole is very toxic. So Buddhism for that, if you want to see it from that way, like if you want to try to make some progress against your femdom or fetishes, but without like, it doesn't place any blame on you for being a sensitive man. It's just like, oh, it's bad for anyone as a whole. Even dominant men suffer from this, like from over-sexuality. Now, Hinduism. If you grew up in a Western society, like, you probably don't even consider Hinduism because of, like, it's shown as, like, a pantheon, as polytheistic. Like, if you are Christian, you don't quite understand until you go to Hinduism, but... Not that I converted to Hinduism, but, you know, I study it and I experiment with it. So Christianity really, really biases you against anything that isn't monotheism. Even like Buddhism is only acceptable to people once they realize, oh, okay, the Buddhas are not necessarily worshipped as gods, or they're not supposed to be. They're just like guiding figures. And it's the Mahayana branch that looks at the Buddhas that way. The Theravada branch doesn't, so I'm going with the Theravada branch. And even like when my gateway into Hinduism was seeing like, oh, all these gods are just aspects of one god, like the primordial reality. They're just manifestations, kind of like the Trinity is like 3 manifestations of the one God. Like, so it's not necessarily that you hate polytheism, you just don't take it seriously. Like, what, you have many gods, one for this, one for that? I can't take that seriously. But you realize, like, Hinduism isn't like that. It's actually quite monotheistic. So anyways, once you open up to giving Hinduism a shot, you inevitably come across Krishna, one of like the most well-known gods. He's not a reincarnation. You could consider it an incarnation. He's an avatar of Vishnu, the preserver, also one of the main gods. So Krishna is a human incarnation of Vishnu. And look up Krishna on Google. Like, he is prime femboy material. It is nice to see a god, like the divine aspect of reality, portrayed this way, as not inherently, like, not this rugged masculine guy. Not that Jesus is often portrayed that way, but it's nice to see him portrayed as, like, not muscular and, like, slender and very feminine, but also very masculine, very androgynous. It makes you see, like, oh, okay. And India is, like, a traditionally very patriarchal and masculine society, from my understanding. So the fact that so many Hindus could worship this androgynous figure as a god, and when you like, I haven't even read a lot about Krishna. I've only read the Bhagavad Gita, but just from like what I've seen on YouTube shorts and the music about how loving Krishna is and how he loves you and that he wants what's best for you, like, it's just like, this is Jesus but without any of the baggage that typically comes with Christianity. And if you can't abandon Christianity, then my recommendation is for you, well, why not get some pointers on how to worship from these other religions? There's this book called I Cannot Be Christian Without Buddha, or How Buddhism Saved My Christianity, something like that. I don't remember the title. I never read it, but as soon as I read the title, I was like, yep, I relate to that. Once I started practicing like Buddhism, I was able to see how my femdom urges were bad, but not because of like being a man and woman, because like it's lust. It's just pure lust. Buddhism, some Christians are able to go back to Christianity with a renewed view after like seeing Buddhism for a bit, this different perspective. If you can't abandon Christianity, as I probably can't, you can come back to it with a healthier view after looking at Hinduism and Krishna. So, just a bit of a recommendation to you. Hope you learned something from this. And remember, it's not learning if your behavior doesn't change. See you around.